Eldora Speedway, one of the most well-known dirt tracks of all the United States. Since 1954, the Big E has hosted everything from sprint cars and late models to midgets and silver crowns. But since 2013, it has become known for an additional type of vehicles and events, the NASCAR Gander Outdoors and RV Truck Series. Drivers such as Austin Dillon, Bubba Wallace, and Chase Briscoe have taken the checkered flag of this half-mile clay track. Tonight, the Sim Racers for Mental Health gets its turn at this facility. Good evening, everyone, and we welcome you to the virtual Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio for the 2020 edition of the Sim Racers for Mental Health Summer Showdown. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Devin Henry. Behind the scenes is our director, John Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Drivers continuing to practice for tonight's action, but what's the best way around this tricky circuit? Find out with your GSRC lap guide.
Welcome to the world's greatest dirt track, Eldora Speedway. Located in Rossburg, Ohio, northwest of Dayton, Eldora opened in 1954 and has been one of the premier dirt tracks in the country ever since. The half-mile clay oval, now owned by Hall of Fame driver Tony Stewart, is the perfect track to learn the ropes in any dirt car. It's versatile in its ability to host great racing across the board, including the winged and non-winged sprint cars, modifieds, and all three late models. And Eldora features fast and sweepy corners with a slight bend down the back straight, mainly attributed to a rounded-off corner exit in Turn 2. Now, like any good dirt track, the best drivers can adapt their style to many different lines depending on the track's condition at Eldora. Get a good run on the cushion, you'll be flying around the outside of the track. Be careful, don't jump the cushion in Turn 1. That wall is unforgiving. Around the bottom of the track, Turns 3 and 4 can be the more daunting corners, especially as the berm works its way down to the concrete wall. So who will join the likes of Stewart, Steve Kinzer, Donnie Schatz, and Scott Bloomquist, the other legends of dirt racing who have claimed victory here at Eldora? Let's find out. Enjoy the show.
That was located GSRC lap guide for Eldora Speedway. Now let's bring in my broadcast partner, Devin Henry, and we've seen some great dirt racing action here at Eldora in its history and throughout our time of the service. What can you also add upon to this racetrack tonight?
Well, this is just one of the greatest dirt tracks and really one of the greatest tracks in the nation, period. And it's actually kind of strange just because of the fact that it was built in 1954. A lot of the legendary tracks like Knoxville and others have been around since the early 1900s. It feels like a brief history for Eldora has brought so much great racing action on this half-mile dirt oval out in Rossburg, Ohio. 24-degree bankings in the corners, and it is oh so fast. Still another 8 degrees of bankings in the corner. A lot of speed, but you got to be so careful. This combination that we have here tonight, Justin, is just violent. It takes a lot of practice, but it is oh so fun once you can figure out how to rip the lip in one of these NASCAR Truck Series machines.
It's going to be very tricky tonight, absolutely. With that, let's discuss how the race format is for this evening's action involving these trucks. It is fixed setups for these competitors tonight. 80 laps for the main event this evening. No fast repairs available either, so keep that in mind for these trucks as they make their way around the racetrack. There's also the potential flexibility on the certain heats, but there is a top prize for tonight, $20 in iRacing credits for the driver who takes the checker flag after tonight's 80-lap event. And there's going to be a lot of hunger from some of these drivers to try and slide job their way to victory lane.
And that will eventually end up being what you need to do. One of the characteristics of these trucks is just the speed that they have on the cushion. And it's so strange. They kind of bog down, if you will. Everything kind of happens in slow motion in these cars because you rarely go over 100 miles an hour. I mean, you're usually just short of that. And then as you slide through the corners, it doesn't even kill off that much speed. But when you go inside, you lose so much momentum that you won't be able to really touch anyone once you get going down the straightaway. So slide jobs are going to be very important, and also the execution of them, because it is so easy to lose the rear ends on these trucks.
Before we talk a little bit more about how the pace has been settled so far in final practice for tonight, I'd like to ask you, are you interested in advertising with GSRC? Our channel's 1 million monthly global impressions are a great way to get your branding seen by a diverse audience. Follow the link to the description to the YouTube version of this broadcast tonight to learn more about the Global SimRacing Channel. As drivers make their way around for practice, about 5 minutes or so before qualifying, where drivers will have 5 minutes to set 2 solo laps around this circuit. The top drivers in the session so far, just 1/1000th of a second separate them, and they've been two of the best drivers in sim racers' mental competition in 2020 outright. Jared Mogart with a 19.111, Presley Sora with a 19.112, Devin.
And those are some pretty impressive times on their own, and to be essentially tied on the leaderboard. I would love to know how similar those laps are, but right on board here with Mogart, right on the inside here, but look at him work his hands in the cockpit right now. I mean, the car never turns left after you just kind of pitch it in the first time, and he is just so rapidly moving his hands around like that. I mean, yeah, that might have a little bit to do with internet connectivity and stuff like that, but when you're actually driving one of these at Eldora, that's about what it feels like when you're wrestling with that wheel. And these guys are going to have to do that for 80 laps. It's going to be a little bit on the brutal side.
Especially since these machines are a bit more heavier in terms of how they are structured compared to, say, a sprint car, or even in some cases, some types of late models and so forth. It's not going to be easy even to drive down the straightaways, well, straight without smacking the wall down.
It's nearly impossible to drive these things in a straight line when you put these on dirt, and it makes you really appreciate what the NASCAR Truck Series guys actually do when they come to Eldora. I figured out when I first did this why some of the drivers did not like going to Eldora for the NASCAR regular season in the trucks. It is so dang difficult. The all-time record here at Eldora is a 12.7 second lap set by Craig Delansky in a 410 sprint car back in 2002. We're going to see lap times more around 19.5 seconds. And if you have ever driven a street stock on iRacing at Eldora, that's what these cars are most similar to, is those street stocks. But imagine those street stocks with 100% track usage on ice with 0% tire left. That's about it right there. That's as similar as these cars can get.
Under 3 minutes to go until qualifying gets underway, and looking on board with one of the drivers towards the bottom of the pylon, separated by just about 0.3 of a second. That's Jathan Nethery currently in P8 on the board in front of Nicholas Reese in that session. As the teammate Presley Sora, he's looking for some good speed tonight. One of the drivers who have been putting up a lot of lap times, already more than 60 in the session, helping slick up this racetrack before it starts Q.
The slicker this track gets, I mean, it only gets worse. So the track gets slicker, and you can see where it's way darker on top. It's way blacker. And that comes from the tires rubbing on the dirt, and it makes the track slicker. You lose grip. It's the opposite of running on asphalt. You put rubber down, you get more grip on asphalt. On dirt, the more rubber you put down, the slicker it gets. And these cars have such little grip in the first place, these trucks, I should say, at Eldora, that the slicker this track gets, the worse and worse it gets. And you really have to adapt, because one of the places it gets slick is corner entry. If you just pitch these cars in just a little bit too much, it doesn't matter how little throttle input you put in, you're gonna go whip around.
Who are some of the drivers, in your opinion, we should keep an eye on tonight? Because there are many regulars from SimRace for mental health here tonight, but as well, a couple of drivers we haven't seen quite too much of in 2020 in some of its previous events.
Well, the first guy you have to look at is Jared Mogart. I mean, in the regular ARCA season that this series does, 4 wins this season, 3rd in points, and of course top of the board right now. But I mean, you look at the entire top 3, it's hard to run almost a 19 flat regardless of track conditions. And Presley Sora has done that, and even Corey Boundnot is pretty dang close as well, running at a 19.2. So those 3 right there, I think that they have a little something figured out. But it's going to be you're going to have to survive, because I look at when you have a race with no fast repairs. And when I think of that, I think of Daytona. You know, you want to sit in the back and relax. But here at Eldora, you can be near nobody and just lose the car because it's that difficult to handle. having no fast repairs almost doesn't even change the strategy just because of how daunting this track is just on its own without anyone else around you.
A few moments before the start of qualifying, and to add on to that point, towards the middle of the board is Danny Soul, who is somebody we've both seen at times across the sim racing service, both in road course events as well as in oval events. He's in 5th in practice in the number 13 truck. The Scandinavian-based driver might be someone to keep an eye on. Decent pace, just 2/10 off the best times in practice. But here's the thing. Practice times, they're a good way to tell where the speed may be tonight. But to be able to position yourself well tonight, you need to qualify well. And it's time for solo qualifying. 5 minutes to set 2 solo qualifying laps to set the grid towards this evening's last stages of the card tonight. Track conditions fairly cool, 77 degrees Fahrenheit is partly cloudy skies, 71 degrees is the track temp for the start of qualifying. Already a couple drivers have made their way onto the racetrack, including your second best driver in practice and one of the top drivers this season, Presley Sora, driving a Ford F-150 tonight.
And Sora here trying to use that inside lane kind of more so towards the middle here. Not exactly on that inside wall, but I'm interested to see what the drivers think. Is the inside the way to go? There's a lot of grip right there, but I mentioned earlier, you just lose so much momentum. What's going to be faster in a one-lap qualifying lap? The outside or the inside? Right now, Sora thinks that that speed is in the inside where it's nice and tacky.
Just about matched his practice time, by the way, with the 19.151. In fact, picked up that 1/1000th of a second separation. Also seeing some improvement from a couple of the hour drivers as Sora crossed the line for the second time of the Indiana Sport Machine, 19.376. Looking like you need to be able to nail it on the first lap already in the session. You talked about trying to gain momentum on the bottom side. As a driver, do you prefer the bottom of the track here in the trucks or the cushion?
Sometimes I like the cushion just because I need something to save me when I slide up the track, and you don't want to do that right there. What Bodenot kind of did there, you don't want to necessarily slam that wall. These trucks can't take as much damage as, say, a street stock can. So I like to use the top a little bit. It kind of saves you if you make a mistake. If you make a mistake on the inside, you're either going to loop it or you're going to go straight into someone else. But here in qualifying, wherever has the most grip, and it looks like a lot of guys think that's going to be the inside here. So it's a little bit tacky there, but you still got to have the right kind of arc to actually get enough momentum on corner exit to make it worth your while.
Should note the first qualifying lap for Mogart did not count if you take the wall at any point during a qualifying run on any part of the surface and any discipline. That disallows the qualifying lap. Second time around, a 19.231. As a result, only Heat 2 in the qualifying session for Jared Mogart, bringing a dirt sponsor to the hood of that machine tonight. So far, 6 trucks have set qualifying laps. The only drivers who haven't are Danny Sowell, Mark Evans, and that's about it in terms of entries, as William Kruzka has elected to withdraw and watch the action from the sidelines for this evening's event. So about 2 minutes or so before the trucks hit the track. Should note here, Devin, that there is a reset for the feature race tonight later on in the evening, meaning it's going to be essentially a fresh track. So a lot of the feel you may feel now at the end of practice or in qualifying, that's likely going to be gone by the time the 80-lap show comes to play.
And that's what I absolutely love about dirt racing. You take the blade, you take the water to the track, and it's a completely new set of circumstances. And in my opinion, dirt tracks evolve more than any other type of track that any type of car races on. The adaptability of a dirt car driver has to be one of the key talents that that driver has. And tonight, if you want to run up front, I mean, I know it's a long 80-lap race, but at halfway, you want to be towards the front still, and you need to know how to run on a tacky track if you want to be able to be in the front in these trucks at Eldora. Then as the track slicks off, as the top slicks off, you can kind of see it gets more difficult to be on that cushion because you just end up banging off the wall. So when the track state is nice and tacky, it's a completely different battle than when it's slicked off and you're about to lose that rear end at just in any instant.
Should note one driver has not qualified, by the way, Devin, and that's Danny Soul. The point I bring up with that, of course, as well, is there is a heat format that, as we talked about a little bit, was determined by how many drivers were in attendance for it tonight. It's similar to what you see for bigger events as well. For example, say you have up to 6 heats available and you have, in some events, 30, 40 drivers, that splits it up to evenly have those drivers in respective heats, and will drop heats in that respective. Tonight, expecting about 1 or 2 heats to set the qualifying order. We'll find out in about 30 seconds. If not, go straight to the feature. Either way, track position could be very vital tonight based on some of the runs we've seen from some of the drivers and the others who are trying not to make mistakes throughout the practice session.
And I almost think that having the opportunity to have a heat race with such a low car count, what this should be is a practice race. You're taking a practice race in your heat race to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to be successful in tonight's A main? At least you get a chance to try, and you can use an extra fast repair maybe. You know what I mean? So, it's a little bit of it's more of a test session, if you will, in my mind, than an actual heat race that sets the grid. Or excuse me, we're going straight to the feature.
Yes, we are. So, no heat races is the call for tonight. That was a potential possibility. Instead, we are going straight to the grid for tonight's action. 8 trucks expected to make the start tonight. Those 8 trucks will be Presley Sora, who will bring them to the green flag. Jared Mogart in second. Scott Ricard in third. Then you have Jason Nethery in fourth. Then you have the number 30 machine, Abodinot, in fifth. Nicholas Reese in sixth. The last drivers on the grid did not qualify. Denny Soul as well as Mark Evans for tonight. As mentioned, William Kruska will not take the green flag this evening. So 8 trucks looking to battle for $20 in iRacing credits. Your expectations and keys to victory tonight?
Well, the key to victory is get the power down on the ground. The more that you can make these tires hook up, the more speed you're going to get. But you can't be too greedy. A little bit too much throttle, you can turn that steering wheel as far right as you want. You're not saving that car if you have at any point too much throttle in this machine. It's just going to whip around. And with the track all reset, the blade, the water, and everything, resetting this track to 0% track state, take advantage of it now while it's still tacky, because even right now with no slickness, it's still so loose, it's still so easy to make a mistake that can end your night.
We've already talked about the 2 favorites for this evening. Who do you feel might be someone who might be under the radar, who can charge their way up to the front based on what you've seen from the drivers and what they were able to do once the track slickened up a little bit? Because eventually, of course, this track will slicken up back to what it was by the end of practice and qualifying.
And that's the thing. Practice gave these drivers a really good look at how this track is more than likely going to end up after 80 laps, which will essentially be 160 laps taken, or excuse me, 1,600 laps taken around this track between the 8 trucks. So, a guy like Mark Evans starting in dead last, it's not going to be that bad only having 8 cars in the track evolving so much. So Mark Evans, Daniel Solo, being able to have that track time during practice might be really beneficial and getting up to the front with just an 8-car field.
8 trucks all set to go. Pace truck is off. Green flag is out. We're underway for the 2020 edition. The Sim Racers for Mental Health Summer Showdown. Already, Presley Sora up to the cushion. Scott Ricard trying to use the bottom side, while Jarrett Mogart also up to the cushion. Top 3 have already pulled away by several truck lengths into 3 and 4.
Bolden out there tried to throw off a little bit of a slide job. Just got too loose on corner and exit. Lost a lot of time. Right now, Rickard using the bottom, but now he's elected to use the top instead. It looks like right away the qualifying lap is not what these drivers are using with a brand new racetrack.
Trying to carry as much momentum as they can up towards the wall. Just about a half lane away from the wall as Presley Sora Mogart about a quarter of a lane. So far, the 98's led all the laps so far. Faster lap, though, to Mogart last time by. Ricard still in third. Then you have Bodinot still in the 4th spot. Denny Soul up 2 positions to the 5th spot on the racetrack. So already looking near dead, even on the pace, fairly spread out here, Devin, in the early going.
And the first thing that you can't do is get impatient. Save yourself up a little bit. There's so much race here. Don't get caught up in a battle for real estate. It's just not going to be worth it in the long term. Take your time, wait for other people to make mistakes, and just hit your marks. It's too long of a race to get impatient and have a stupid decision.
Bit of a diamond off the corner for Presley Sora there, as Mogart's still not able to build up enough momentum for a run. We've already seen a couple peaks to note from the 00, especially in turn 1 of the last lap. If you're Mogart, do you continue to poke around like this, or do you try and slide job like that? doesn't complete the slide job. Momentum lost once again.
He drove it in there just a little bit too hard, or a little bit too deep, I should say. If that was a little more shallow of a slide job, he might have actually cleared him there. But why not? Like I said, it's early in the race. He is obviously very capable of running this truck like that and doing slide jobs. So let's do a little bit of testing. What might work, what might not work as this track continues to evolve.
Top 5 separated by 2.7 seconds already. The kings of the field up on the front. Should note that there could be lap traffic that may play a factor since Nicholas Reese has been having a rough session, to say the very least. About a second or so off the pole time. He's already 11 seconds back of the race leaders. Could be a factor in this fight in about 10 laps or so as Mogart gains another 10th of a second. Fastest lap of the race so far.
And Mogart has been the fastest car on track just about every single lap, except for those that he was taking a little bit of risk here and there to see what's going to happen. Right now, what's making Mogart faster is how much straighter he is than Sora in the corner. Look on board here. Sora is so sideways, and you see Mogart just reel in that rear bumper, that F-150 in front of him, and here goes the slide job again.
Jared Mogart all the way up to the cushion, just avoids the wall. Presley Sora dimes the corner off. Still side by side of the stripe, 71 laps to go. Sora tries to slide job his way up to the top side of the defense. Once again, back to the back end is Mogart, forced to check up. He's back on the bottom side. Mogart back with a slide job once again. Sora forced off the gas. He crosses him over again past the start and finish line this time.
That is textbook dirt racing right there. Slide jobs and crossing back over. Sora just taps the outside wall, but Mogart just doesn't have quite enough momentum to get door to door, losing speed off corner exit, and another slide job here into 3.
Once again, back up towards the top. Once again, crossover again for Presley Sora. Back in the race lead, still 69 laps to go. Lap traffic just up the road, though. Nicholas Reese is all over the bottom and the top of the racetrack. Leaders are still single file. Should note P3 also heating up, as once again, Mogart trying to resettle on the cushion.
Mogart has the fastest truck right now. Look at how straight he is on the cushion, just really in Presley Sora. Even a little bit lower here on the cushion. Since the track isn't slicked off yet, being a little bit lower can actually help your time as the lap car moves down to the bottom. But I'm just so impressed by Mogart's car control right now to keep that truck so straight in the center of a really slick corner.
Yeah, lots of decent control and looking for a decent slide. Back up towards the top. Sora again with the crossover. He retakes the race lead once again. By the way, we still have 66 laps to go as they are still fighting like it's the last lap. All while P3 is having a slide jump battle in the backdrop. Should note between Boldenot along with Ricard, both battles starting to intensify.
Where's our 2-box? We need 2-box in here. We're getting some action for first, action for second. These guys sliding back and forth, but what I see both drivers doing is tapping the wall after their slide job, and that's just killing their momentum right now.
Still trying to ride up towards the cushion, all these drivers. The battle for third, back on calm once again. Another fastest lap, though, set by Jared Mogart, and you normally don't see fastest laps on a dirt track coming after several laps. Mogart just slid for the race lead, while Boldenot tries to slide for P3. Crossover up in the front as crossover again for P3. This time, Ricard still side by side, back on turn number 1. He slide jumps up to the top. Crossover once again down the backstretch.
Back up front, Mogart another slide job on Sora, and once again heads up right to that wall. Sora is doing such a perfect job cutting off the end of the corner and getting a giant run down the straightaway.
Still slide jobbing back and forth across the field. Should note that Mogart did tap the wall, may take an error a few laps to recover some of that pace. Right now, the top group separated by 4 seconds apiece. 1 and 2, half a second. Then P3 and 4 about 4 seconds backwards, about a 0.3 of a second separation. Still approaching a quarter way through this event. In the next couple laps or so, Sora still has led every single lap so far over Jared Mogart with Scott Ricard along with Boldenot. Rounding out the top 5 is Danny Solo. Cross slide over once again in the backdrop for P3 and 4. Boldenot once again crossed over back by Ricard as the leaders still stay single file.
Ricard slides up pretty far. Boldenot back on the inside. They're going to be door to door going into the straightaway here. Maybe a little bit of contact. Boldenot once again sliding to 3. Caution flag comes out.
And it's Mark Evans who's the trigger for the caution. 7th place was where the 17 was running, and this could have been worse. He was battling with the driver on his lap, but looped it down the front stretch just as the leaders nearly hit him.
Looks like maybe a little bit too much throttle there, maybe a little bit too much wheel, and just, oh, that's the last direction you want to be pointed. It's hard to know what to do in that case. Which way do you want to turn? Probably just should have tried to whip that thing around to the right. Instead, he's going to take the toe, and he will be multiple laps down by the time he gets back out on the track.
So 58 laps to go this time. Your thoughts on how this race has progressed so far? Because, at least from my vantage point, Devin, it's been fairly exciting. It's just been difficult to complete the pass.
Well, how about that for the first quarter of a race? Excitement for first, excitement for third, and yeah, not being able to complete the pass, that's going to change as the top slicks off. Because part of not being able to complete the pass has just been how well executed the crossover has been. Coming off the corner, diamonding it off, and being able to rip down the straightaway with so much momentum. Once corner exits start to slick off, that's going to be harder to do. You're going to find the rear end sliding out more in those cases, and that's when things are really going to get interesting. Who has the best car control?
By the way, race admins have elected to make it single file restart. 7 trucks remaining from this point on. As Evans is done, green flag is out, back in her way, so up to the gas. He taps the wall already. Mogart tries to fall on the cushion. That came at the right time for Bodenot as well to get P3 as they try and battle for the race lead. 56 to go as here goes Mogart. He looks to slide to the bottom of the racetrack. Looking to complete the slide up to the Eldora logos. Presley Sora with a crossover. Back and forth for the stripe as Sora still leads.
Great job getting off the corner as straight as possible, but now loses the lead back again to Sora. Trying to cross back under. This does not have enough momentum, but he'll try another slide job into 3.
Once again, trying to get it to stick right next to the outside wall. The dirt racing machine hits the fence. Back to the lead as Presley Soren in the Indy Autosport Ford. Near contact up towards the front. This is allowing the 34 to join the fight. 3 trucks now scrapping for the race lead. Top 4 separated by just 1 second as Mogart tries to dive. Once again up to the cushion. Once again crossover. Much slower for Soren. Much more momentum.
Sora clears easily back on the cushion in 1 and 2. Bodenot would love to show that he's seen in front of him if his car wasn't so hard to control in the first place anyway. Mogart again dives into turn number 3, will slide up to the cushion. Sora, another great crossover, will clear him again going into turn 1.
Corey has to be licking his chops as both the tarts in front hit the wall. Now Corey Bodenot is in the wall. Sora tries to pull away. Mogart straightens it out right across the nose of the 34. The 00 nearly scrapes the wall. Again, wall taps it, damages the right rear. Now the cushion for the race lead up to half a second. And Ricard's now into the fight. 4 trucks under a blanket now.
And you can see that top line is starting to get darker. That means it's taking rubber and it's starting to get slicker. The slicker that gets, the more difficult it will be to control your car. Car control is going to be key moving forward, and you can't be greedy on your throttle. And as exciting this race has been, that's going to be difficult to remember.
Absolutely at this point. And these drivers not afraid to get up and close and personal with the wall. Mogart trying to slide up to the wall. Again, a crossover back. Sora again gets clear at the start and finish line. 50 laps to go this time as Sora continues to try and hold on. Mogart continues to keep that 00 straight in second, while Bodenot watches as again Mogart, bottom of the racetrack, going for the slide job for the race lead. He slides up as Sora again crosses him over as the 00 taps the wall again.
That was the deepest that Mogart has ran into the corner so far doing his slide jobs, and it paid off more than ever as he was door to door going into the next corner. Here again, this time a very shallow slide job, trying to keep as much speed as he can. We'll see if this makes a difference going into 1, and it doesn't look like it is. Sora will once again be clear. A little bit of contact per second.
Nearly got run over as Sora's now into the wall. Mogart cuts to the bottom to avoid him. Loud traffic ahead. It's Nicholas Reese trying to stay on the bottom of the racetrack. Mogart still elects to slide it. The pink truck stays along the inside wall. Sora crosses over. 3 wide for the lap truck as they're back to 2 wide into 1. Back to single file into the cushion.
You just have to wait for the guy in front of you to make a mistake. And for Mogard, that means continue putting on pressure. Every turn 3, try to slide. This time very patient though, but gets into the wall.
And they just continue to try and knock down the wall, it seems. The whole back bumper for Mogart just about torn apart. Sora just avoids tapping it. Mogart smacks the wall with his right front. Bodenot now follows along. Still trying to sort it out. No, Bodenot tries to go for his first slight jump for the top positions. Massive dig on the bottom. Can't get clear as Sora drives on by. He over-rotates as Mogart's back clear.
I was really worried he was going to go for a twofer right there. Instead, trying to get second position away from Mogard. Just does not have enough speed on corner exit using that inside line. But again, still a long race to go. We're not even halfway. Try some things that are different. You can't pass the guy in front of you if he's running the same line as you.
This has been absolutely exciting to watch so far as more contact for second and third, tapping the wall with the right rear tire. Just avoiding a Sora this time. Mogart knocks down the wall down into the entry. Sora nearly scrapes into the apex. Mogart nearly rips it down on the exit. Mogart trying to rip the fence, trying to get to the outside, just can't get to the right rear quarter panel to pry Sora off that wall as the 34's back in the fight.
Taking a look at the bed. There goes Mogart again to the inside, nearly chops the inside wall. That's the deepest he's thrown it in. Gets the lead down the straightaway, door to door, nearly side by side, even going into turn number 1. Sora digs in as well, retakes the lead. We'll see if Mogart might have enough here to make it side by side. He has the outside lane going into 3.
Mogart now has the chance to rip away the race lead. He now taps the wall. He goes for the crossover for the first time. Sora tries to hold onto the outside. Mogart still couldn't get clear. He goes for the aggressive slide. Crossover for Sora. He nearly flips, spins it around towards the backstretch. Down the curve backstretch. Sora, now he's got to go on the offensive. Halfway this time by a Sora retakes the lead. Mogart now with the run as he gives the squeeze.
Again to the inside, shallow slide job here. Touches back up with the cushion, but Sora cuts across. Not able to get his nose even to the door. Digs in to the inside wall for the slide job. Mogart not going to cut back under, taps the bumper, and the 98 car able to get back to the lead as again Mogart goes for a slide job in turn 1.
This is exciting to watch as race is now back on the bottom of the racetrack. Drag race back down the back straightaway. Sora takes the middle line. Mogart nearly knocks down the fence again. Mogart again tries to keep it up top. Sora's able to block him. Mogart now slides to the bottom. Race now slides to the middle of the racetrack. Hooks a hard left as he avoids the race leaders. He's now 2 laps down. The only driver off the lead lap. 37 to go as Sora now right tries to retake the lead again.
Sliding up to the cushion, gets onto it. Mogart tries to cross back over, gets to the quarter panel. Once again, will slide Sora into turn number 1. Sora over-rotates though, loses all of his momentum. Not going to be able to be side by side going into 3, and then Mogart will protect the inside lane.
And the defensive move holds up the momentum of Sora. Now he's forced to reset for the first time tonight. Jared Mogart up in the race lead, but for how long? Sora wants it back on the Indy Autosport machine. Can't get the momentum, nearly loops it again through some of the slick. Back up to the cushion as he now resets. But Mogart, well executed. It took him about 40 laps, Devin. He's now your race leader, and now Sora's under attack for second.
Bodenot on the inside, not really throwing the slide job though, trying to use that inside lane, but just does not have the momentum. And that entire sequence was caused by one small mistake. Most of you guys probably missed it. Mogart had a lot of momentum on the outside, and when Sora came up, after being on the inside, over-rotated just slightly off of turn number 2, and that gave just enough. That gave a car width, a truck width for Mogart to get to the outside. If Sora would have protected that outside lane, that would have never happened. That small, minuscule mistake let Mogart take the lead almost 6 or 7 laps after the fact.
And now, the leader separated by 0.6 of a second. Still, Bodenot has a chance to rip away second spot, but now it just seems Mogart much more comfortable in this long run. Compared to the wheel movements you see on here, it's like they're having to chug it back and forth from straight back to right, straight to right, straight to right, just about nearly oversteer it, Devin.
and watching on board here with Bowden watching down the straightaway here after just banging it off the wall. When is this steering wheel straight? I don't know. I count about half a second right there. These trucks are just absolute demons on dirt. So hard to control. Coming down the front straightaway here. It's right, it's left, it's back left, it's back right. That steering wheel wasn't even straight that straightaway.
Almost like driving a boat, but remember, these machines on the dirt require a lot of wheel, and we are seeing Mogart, though, lose the lead a little bit as Sora has wheeled his way back in within a couple tenths. Now is reset, and Sora's almost found a bit of a different line compared to what we've seen for the 00. See him wanting to prefer that cushion, damaging the back end once more a little bit, but Sora's now found some grip in the middle line, Devin.
I love this. What Sora is doing is making a second cushion. You see a little bit of roost right under where that slick stuff is. Sora is essentially making a second cushion and going to a part of the track that has more grip in it. That's allowed him to catch right back up to Mogart and try to get up to his tailgate. Slide job here in 3 and 4. Not even a slide job, just using that inside lane and a block pass.
Major damage to Sora. He wiggles to the bottom of the racetrack. Mogart up towards the cushion again. Both trucks demolished. Up the track once again goes Sora. Another shot given. Reese watches along with the popcorn. He just avoids getting hit in the MPR truck. Defensive line as Mogart nearly is hit by Sora. Mogart had to back off the gas, and now Sora leads. 27 to go. Both those trucks absolutely demolished up at the front.
Adaptability and going out and doing something different. That's what you have to do here, and that is how Sora took the lead. And now Mogart up in the fence. Bowden has a chance here to take P2.
Can't get clear though as Mogart a bit more momentum down the straight. Bowden tries to send it hard once again to the inside. The FMR truck slides up to the wall. Crossover once again. Mogart back to the bottom. Towards the inside wall. Hunks it down to the bottom this time. Soft slide as he tries to take the top and does. Move Mogart back up to second. 25 laps now to reset as Sora leads by 1 second.
And here's the difference right now. Mogart and Bowden are up on the top where it's slick, lots of tire wear, and they're sliding up, they're banging on the wall, and they can't get a grip on corner exit. The fact that Sora is a little bit lower than that, in a little bit more tackier dirt, there's more grip right there. And so while it's not the most momentum, it's the most corner speed right now that's in the favor of Presley Sora, and that's why the 98 machine is running away from these other trucks.
19.698 last time by for Sora, by the way. Mogart a 19.983. Still, the gap going down a little bit now. Last time by Mogart, about a half a tenth quicker. 1.17 seconds the gap. More contact again from Mogart along the wall as the top 4 have checked out. Top 3 still covered in a blanket of just under 2 seconds with 22 to go this time by.
And I don't care what the distance is right now. Even if there was a caution, this race isn't over. You want, what did I say at the start of the race? The most power to the ground. Right now, Sora has that with the most grip using tackier dirt a little bit lower than Mogart and Bajaj. But don't get greedy. That lower angle is going to slick off as well. And if you don't understand that and you miss that, you're going to put too much throttle in it and you're still going to loop it around.
More traffic this time. For the first time, it's not Nicholas Reitz. It's Jason Nathary, who is a teammate to Presley Sora. Not making it easy for Sora. Still trying to get around to the outside. Middle line taken by the Max Best truck. Up to the wall goes Sora. He smacked it down the back straight away. Still the teammate not moving as he now goes to the bottom. Here comes Mogart now within half a second because of that with under 20 to go.
Bonnot still hunting for that second position. Watching on board here with Mogart. That higher line. Watch those hands wrestle with that steering wheel up on the cushion. Sora just a little bit lower, reeling in that F-150 tailgate. And we have another bow for the lead possibly coming on up.
Lap traffic stays on the bottom side. They also avoided Nicholas Reitz down the back straight away. Mogart. Higher line, Sora now back to his preferred line on the bottom side. 17 to go this time. Slowly reeling in the next group of lap traffic in Daniel Salo, who is just fighting with that 0-1 before he got lapped. Up to the top again is Sora. Mogart tries to gain momentum. He's back up to the cushion. He tries to pry away the top line in the corner.
Mogart has found second life, moving up on the cushion just a little bit more. Peeking to the bottom end of that quarter panel. Slide job into turn number 3. Slides up, not all the way to the wall, finding a little bit of grip on corner exit. New leader is Jared Mogart. Sora once again goes to the inside.
Once again, a major slide up to the wall. Mogart this time elects to cross him over. Big over rotation for the 34 truck. To the bottom side, again goes Mogart. Sora strikes the hard cut to the left. He's back to the bottom once again, retakes the lead at the stripe with 15 to go. Still traffic ahead in the 13 truck, about 10 truck lengths up the track. Could be a factor as he's staying up top.
These drivers not giving an inch. Hey, aerodynamics does not matter here. Let's mess up those spoilers. Let's mess up those splitters. A little bit of dirt racing never hurt no one.
What a race, to say the very least, as up towards the top again goes Mogart. Knocks down the wall, hits the apex off. Mogart's now back behind by 0.8 of a second again, as now, once again, Sora tries to check out the downside. The 13 of Soul has not made a move to the bottom side. Looking like the leaders will have to try and pass them on the middle or bottom.
And remember, this is a fixed setup. There's nothing that these guys can change except for the braking bias, which it actually can be important here in the truck series, running here on dirt. But these guys are, oh, yellow flag. This is going to change everything.
P3 is spun out. It's Corey Bonanot. He had been a bit unstable for a couple laps and down the back straightaway, hit the rev limiter and hit the wall that hooked him down to the inside for the spin.
Looks like just a little bit too much ping pong there with the outside wall, and it's hard to get out of that little mess that he made. Looking on board here, the rear end just going to tip the wall on exit, front nose, rear end, front nose, and that is a violent little game that you do not like playing.
Well, this just made this very wild. This finishes contact. The 00 Scott Ricard elected to go to the bottom, and Nicholas Reese, the lucky dog, just nearly ran him over.
A little bit of chaos, caution under caution here.
I'm not sure what the 05 was doing there. He was in P3.
Well, like I said, you don't need aerodynamics, so that's not going to be a huge difference. The only thing that you want to keep intact is your front end. You don't want your suspension to get all out of whack. Hit in the rear, that's not going to be a big issue here, but of course having that 34 car behind you might be. But Justin, the biggest thing for me right now, who learned the most in the past, 70 laps? Mogart did a lot of slide jobbing. Does he know how to get it done here, coming to the green with just a few laps to go?
9 laps to go. Pace lights are off on the truck. Should note Reese was a manual wave around. The lucky dog officially was Nethery. So, 6 drivers on the lead lap as Presley Soar brings them to the green flag. Back on her way from Eldora, who will come away with the Sim Racers Rental Summer Showdown victory. We're about to find out as Sora already to the bottom, Mogart to the top.
Sora had a phenomenal jump there, but I think that Mogart has a little bit more speed down the straightaway. Will it be enough, though, to catch up to Sora, who has all that corner speed, being in dirt that's just a little bit tackier with a little bit more grip?
Still, the gap is about 0.6 of a second as Sora stays in the bottom, and Mogart nearly knocks down the fence again. Scott Ricard is also in a find in the backdrop for P3 as Mogart goes for a massive send. Tries to gain a lot of the time back. Way out of the gas on corner exit as once again Sora gains it back with 7 to go.
I think that's really going to hurt his speed and momentum here as we come down to 7 laps to go. Sora's starting to run away. On board here with Scott Rickard, trying to find a way.
Caution.
Oh, another yellow.
And it's another spin, and it's the 01 machine. So that's going to burn an air a couple laps, and it's one of the Max Fast trucks for Indy Autosport, Jason Nethery. And it was with help. Danny Solo gave him a huge shot on the exit of 2.
And there was nothing that Solo could do there. Nethery had a lot of over-rotation. Watch on board here. His arm's just going to go directly right, but there is a point of no return. It's about right there. Nothing. Not a single thing you can do, and if you're Solo, you get out of the gas, you spin. You add a gas, you spin. You throw a lot of steering input in, you spin. That was the only option right there for the 13.
So that'll reset things once again with a caution flag. Because Ree's expected to potentially get the lucky dog here and will to get 2 laps down. But this sets up what is looking to be a potential 2 or 3 lap shootout, Devin. This is going to take a perfect moment and a perfect run for the 00 to have a shot at Presley Sora.
I think the only thing that Mogart needs to have a shot at Sora here is a good restart. Last start, Sora got a good enough jump where Mogart couldn't throw a slide job in 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. If Sora can not allow Mogart to throw that slide job past 3 and 4, I think Sora will be okay.
Lights are off on top of the pace truck. To reset your drivers on the lead lap, it's Sora, Mogart, Beaudenot, Ricard, Solo, and Nethery are the 6 trucks on the lead lap. Reese is also 2 laps down running. Evans, your only DNF. 3 laps to decide it. Point of no return passed. Contact already as Sora backs into the green flag. We're underway once again for Eldora. 3 laps to go in the Summer Showdown.
That was a legal restart. Mogart wanted to get that jump be as close as possible to the rear bumper of the 98 machine. A little bit more momentum though on exit. Sora might be a little bit okay as now Mogart is under attack for second.
Mogart up towards the fence. Here comes the 34 on the bottom side. Battle behind as Solo completes the slide job. This helps Presley Sora. He tries to run away, heading to the back straightaway. Gap is 0.7 of a second. Lap and a half to go.
Sora has absolutely gapped everyone there. I think if Mogart just would have ran his usual line, he ran too low and lost momentum. Now with the white flag, Sora is looking to put this one away.
Final lap of the 2020 edition of the Sim Racers for Mental Health Summer Showdown. Presley Sora has been the fastest truck throughout the night. He changed up the lines and now he'll come away with the $20 in iRacing credits as the grand prize. Presley Sora wins the 2020 Sim Racers for Mental Health Summer Showdown at Eldora.
Wow, just a phenomenal race there up front. The top 4 were so competitive with each other all race long, and that is just the type of racing that Eldora brings out when you bring some NASCAR trucks on it.
And I think Sora can be very impressed with the run he had tonight in that 98 truck. Very solid run, winning by 1 second over Mogart, Beaudenot, and some of the top 4 trucks. And a good event overall tonight for the Sim Race for Mental Health. And as the fireworks go off, we'll take a step aside. Post-race coverage coming up. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel live for the virtual Eldora Speedway, once again in Rossburg, Ohio. Welcome back to the virtual Eldora Speedway for post-race coverage of the Sim Racers for Mental Health Summer Showdown for the virtual Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio. Justin Prince alongside Devin Henry with Sean Ambrose in the director's seat as we take a look at your unofficial race results tonight. The man who came away with the $20 in iRacing credits tonight is Presley Sora. taking home the victory for Indy Autosport by 1 second. Jared Mogart was contender all night as well, finishing in second position, with Corey Bordenot rounding out your top three. Speak with some of those drivers in just a few moments. Danny Solo finished in fourth position, up from seventh. Scott Ricard quietly in P5, with Jason Nethery holding on to P6. Rest of the field was Reese, Mark Evans with the DNF, and William Kruska elected not to start, electing to keep an eye on the action from the pit lane this evening for what was an eventful one for the Sim Racers for Mental Health in its organization. Heck of a race overall tonight, but a heck of a victory for one young man. Presley Sora takes home the top prize, $20 in iRacing credits, and he had to work for it tonight. Presley, first things first, how does it feel to win on the dirt tonight?
Oh, it feels great. That was probably the most fun race I think I've ever had on iRacing. We were just throwing slider after slider on each other that whole race, like almost probably every 2 or 3 laps, we'd just throw a slider and Mogard would get past me and then cut under him, and man, that was fantastic racing.
Yeah, let's talk about that fight a little bit, because it started off when the track was still a little bit fresher, where when Mogart would try to go for the slide, you immediately cross over by the start and finish line. He'd slide once again, crossover back, etc., etc. But it seemed by the second half of the race, you found something different. Talk us through that different line you found in the middle.
Yeah, so around lap 35, the top lane started to slick off, and it was pretty hard to be able to cut back under him, because whenever I'd apply the power, it'd just get loosed again. So I fell back, I think, probably half a second gap back while I was in second, and I started running around the middle lane where it hadn't gotten slicked off yet. I just started closing and closing, and then I threw a monster slider on him, and it stuck enough, and I was able to drive away from that point on. I was hoping we weren't going to get any yellows, but then like 10 to go, we got one, and then I got the lead back up, and then got another one with just a few laps to go, but I was able to hold on, so it was pretty good.
Your team seems to be very strong when it comes to sim race for mental health events. Why do you feel that is for your organization to have some strong runs in the series and this, or rather this organization's events?
Well, most of the races are super speedways, and I think we're all pretty good at super speedways. I think it fits right in our wheelhouse, and we know how to work the draft really well, but I really didn't know what to expect coming to Eldora, because this is the only race the whole season that isn't Daytona or Talladega, so I wasn't really sure what kind of speed I would have, and ended up being all right. But yeah, we've gotten some great finishes throughout the year. We got one race we finished 1 through 4. That was in their all-star race, and that was just awesome. And we've gotten several wins. I won the July month event, and then so I'm now 2 in a row for the month events. But my worst finish so far, I think, is 8th throughout the season. So I've been pretty lucky, but I've had some good races throughout the year.
Who do you want to thank for being a part of what is now back-to-back victories for you in the sim race for mental health, but a unique one here on the dirt tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank everybody on my team, Indy Autosport, and our sponsors, MaxVast, Race Tools Direct, Sim Racer Coin, Competition Auto Body, and then I got to thank Runnings Racing Design for making the paint scheme. And the paint scheme looked really good. It's a little banged up now and got some mud on it, but it looked good coming into the race.
Yes, it absolutely did tonight. Congratulations on the victory.
Yep, thank you.
Once again, Presley Sora with the victory by 1 second over the 00 of Jared Mogart. We were having the third place driver now join us. Someone that's very active in the iRace community tonight, put on a very strong show. He's with Devin.
Corey Bodnott brings it home on the podium, a third place position for that Shark truck that he got there. Man, take me through your heart rate. Going through that race, some long green flag runs, and man, just slide jobs galore.
Oh man, that was a lot of fun during this entire 80 laps at the good old Eldora Speedway. I just was hoping that Mogard and Presley would get into each other at the end, and I'd be able to sneak in and steal one from them.
And you guys were close for a lot of the race. What else did you need from your car, or from the track for that matter, to kind of keep up with them and maybe try another slide job there at the end?
Really nothing. I mean, towards the end there, I started using the line I usually use in the dirt late model and dirt modifieds, where I'd run high in 1 and 2 and slide down in 3 and 4, and it seemed to work for me for a little bit. And then my car just started bogging down, I think, from over revving it.
That top continued to slick off. We saw Sora run a little bit lower line and kind of make his own second cushion, if you will, as this track continued to change over essentially what was about 1,600 laps when you look at the cars going around the track for 80 consecutive circuits. How did you need to adapt? What needed to change for you as that race went on to stay in contention there up front?
Really nothing. I mean, just staying consistent.
Well, a great finish coming home on the podium and a great show that you guys put on. Who do you have to thank for a podium position here tonight?
Well, I'd like to thank my main sponsor, which is me, of Random Designs Paint Services, and then my team, Fonseca Miller Racing, his YouTube channel of SimRacing Chewy Side, and then my good buddy over at OSR Network.
Well, you took the shark teeth to a podium position and a great show tonight. Congrats on the top 3, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, Justin, that one was a fun, exciting night here at Eldora. And just a little bit of what you get when you put a car that's so hard to handle on a track that's just so dang fast.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It looked like a lot of fun to try and wheel around. Had some great battles throughout the night. And in the end, you had a victor who led the majority of the laps tonight. But they go back to the super speedways next month. When we go back towards the super speedways, what do you expect once we go to what is expected to be Daytona in September?
Well, like Presley said, I mean, his team right there is so good when it comes to the super speedways and the drafting, and it's so incredible being able to be consistent in that series and then come to dirt where, I mean, aerodynamics are essentially not needed at all. I mean, you see Sora here a little bit sideways coming down to the line. I mean, you can't really do that when you go and you take a draft into the equation. So it's a completely different skill set, but being able to tame both, boy, that was impressive. And I don't expect nothing less out of Sora and that whole race team once they get back on those super speedways.
With that remark, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's exciting action from Eldora. We'd also like to thank organizing William Kruzka, the rest of the Sim Racers for Mental Health, for putting on an exciting event tonight with virtual Eldora Speedway. I'd like to take the time to ask, are you interested in advertising with GSRC? Just 1 million global monthly impressions are a great way to get your branding seen by a diverse audience. I'll link the description to the YouTube version of this broadcast to learn more. So take the time to thank the companies who provide the software and hardware for broadcasts listed up on screen. Additional thanks go to Judith Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks as well to the great team today in Devin and Sean. If you'd like to find out more about Global SimRacing Channel, including its upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. To help support the channel, you can check the merchandise for sale at gsrc.storemvy.com, or check out our merchandise, our social media wrap at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Grand. Have to head over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global SimRacing Channel. As seen on screen, the next race goes to Daytona on September 18th. That will take place at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time in the NASCAR Gander Outdoors and RV trucks. Be sure to tune in once again on the Global SimRacing Channel for the 10th event of the 2020 calendar year. I'd also like to take the time to remind you the upcoming events and races listed up on your screen, so be sure to check those out and mark them down your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.